We got a new location. Do not get used to it. I don't know where I'll be shooting this next time. It's a slightly different setup this time because I'm actually shooting at my girlfriend's place and I don't have to rig the camera up by myself. So this should probably be a little smoother than usual. 2024 was actually a really, really good year for movies. I could make an easy top 30 list and still have to make some cuts that I really don't want to. On my list for this year, I have 102 movies, which is more movies than you've watched, most likely. And I still probably didn't get to all the ones that you want me to talk about. If it's on this list here, then I wanted to get to it, but I couldn't. And if I don't talk about it from this point on, then maybe I just didn't like it. It's possible. Check my Letterboxd. A programming note. In previous years, I have called some movies honorable mentions when they clearly should have been called runners-up. This has now been corrected, opening up the category of honorable mentions for movies that just plainly don't fall into any of the categories that I like to talk about. First of all, concert movies are a bit of a weird gray area between fiction and non-fiction, so it can be an honorable mention instead. Ryuichi Sakamoto Opus. It's basically a visual album of Ryuichi Sakamoto, may he rest in peace, performing some of his pieces for the very last time. And it was filmed and released by his son, Neo Sora, who has since made a movie called Happy End, which I'm about to see soon. It's a really beautiful piece. I highly recommend watching it. Next, I want to talk about a movie that didn't really reach my peak of quality. Both the creator and the streaming service that released it classify it as a short film, but I want to talk about it anyway, and it does reach the Academy definition of 40 minutes, so fuck it. Identities. Identities, released by Jesse Earl, also known as Jesse Gender on Al Gore's internet, is a short that was released on Nebula earlier this year. Nebula is creator-owned, and I have a subscription now. And considering I can do it, and I'm not American, I think that it's worth it for anyone. Identities is on there, and if more people watch it, maybe they can justify making it a larger thing that they clearly want to make it. And finally, best short film of the year, Me, by Don Hertzfeldt. It's Don Hertzfeldt. Award season! The 2024 Mars of Destruction 2005 award for biggest waste of title. This one is a bit of a stretch because arguably this isn't actually that bad of a movie. It's on a lot of people's best list, and I just didn't really get it myself. But I can't resist the irony of having expected too much from Do Not Expect Too Much from The End of the World. If you want something that's a little worse than Working Class Goes to Hell, I don't know. Next up, the one that I'm excited about, the 2024 Blonde 2022 Award for Baffling film. What the fuck do I call it? For baffling filmmaking. This year, the early frontrunner was a movie called Sherkoa. Movie's a bit rich. I would call it an in-engine cutscene.
Kontaka, the Forbidden Refugee State?
It's made in Epic Games' Unreal Engine. You know, like Shadow.
I called up my friends over at Epic. See, Epic makes the engine technology called Unreal.
You guys know about Chatham?
Chatham is a character that I created that is the embodiment of imagination.
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
But Sherkoa was very quickly outclassed by everyone's favorite thing to dunk on, Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
I don't disagree, but I want to bring up an alternative. Agrodrift. Is Agrodrift a movie? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know what this is. Megalopolis is a movie. Megalopolis sucks, and it's confusing, and it's an incoherent mess. But it is a movie. Agrodrift, I don't know what to classify it as. The people who make it, the production company that is actually literally called Edgelord, calls it a Blinks. I don't even know if that's the singular. So when I wrote the script, I hadn't decided whether Megalopolis or Agrodrift would win. Now that the Letterboxd year-end has come out, and they officially called Agrodrift the most divisive film of the year, yeah, no, I'm calling it. Agrodrift wins. Do I recommend you watch it? Now, documentaries. I didn't care a lot for documentaries this year, so... Well, that was disappointing. Moving on to fiction after this. This is a pop figure. What baffles me about this specific pop figure, it's a pop figure of Algorithm, which is Don Cheadle's character in Space Jam 2, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So why do I own this? Well, it all started in 2022, the first time I went to America as an adult. I saw this pop figure at a Books & Co. in Ohio. The existence of it baffled me. I didn't buy it. I did not buy it. But a year later, I went back to that same store and they did not have it anymore, which leads me to the conclusion that someone bought it. And that baffled me even more. So this thing has been stuck in my mind until another year later. My girlfriend took me to Jungle Gyms outside of Cincinnati. Jungle Gyms is like a jungle-themed grocery store that has stuff from all over the world. They had a little gachapon. I got this little annoying dog in a gachapon machine there. Way too expensive, not worth it. But they also had pop figures. I had a look. It was right there. Algorithm, as played by Don Cheadle in Space Jam: A New Legacy. Paid thank you. So I bought it. I keep it up on my desk and I focus all my negative energy into it like a tulpa. And that's as good of an intro as I had to I'm gonna show you some neat physical media I happen to own. I'm filming this the day before I have to upload it, so I was kind of struggling for something to put in here. So as I said before, we have changed the title of Honorable Mention to Runners Up, and that's gonna be the bottom 10 of the top 20 in alphabetical order. But before that, I can't help myself, and I'm just gonna give you the 15 that were below that in alphabetical order. Beetlejuice, A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, The Fall Guy, Flow, Fremont, Gasoline Rainbow, Ghost Cat Ansu, Hitman, Inside Out 2, May December, Robot Dreams, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, T-Blockers, and Wicked Part 1. Anora is in fact at the top of my top 20 list. Alphabetically. It won the pub door, and it got me out the door. Aw, yeah. Also, if we're looking at ensemble cast this year, the number 1 is Dune Part 2, but this one, easily number 2. Everyone's doing a great job here. It might win. It might fucking win.
Tennis! Tennis!
Summing up challengers in one word. It's in tennis.
I assume you want a space there for the posters to show.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, good.
Complete snub. Completely fucking snubbed. I am baffled. This should have gotten so many nominations. The fact that this didn't get nominated for score or editing, I am appalled by that collective decision by thousands of people. Also, I've seen Queer. Queer is good too. That might end up on next year's list. So, religions for fools, eh? Fools and liberals. That's a Clone High quote. I'm not gonna pretend that I know anything about traditional Mongolian shamanism, but I loved seeing this kid struggling with upholding the spiritual traditions of his tribe while also being, you know, a modern teen. I wonder if St. Paul had an Instagram. Also, the original title, translated to English, way better.
Ah, the French.
Dali, by returning director Quentin Dupieux, better known as Mr. Oiseau. Yeah, it's the French surrealist, back at it again, making a movie about a Spanish surrealist in French. It's a choice. I saw the local wizard at our screening. That's not even a joke.
I am me. Here's me.
And I'm you.
I was actually so excited about this one that I ended up going to the Spanish premiere. Simon, surely you mean the Swedish premiere. No, I meant the Spanish premiere.
Who knew that on the coast of Spain I would find the Electoral College? It was here all along. What the hell is Doraemon doing here? It's time to go and hit the beach. I hate you, the beach. That is insane. It's just black.
You should go see A Different Man, to be clear. The only thing that I find that's negative about it is that I know that as soon as this gets a wide release, film Twitter is gonna be so fucking annoying about this. Actually, it was the second screening at that festival, but, you know, it's close enough.
Sebastian Stan might win an Oscar for playing Donald Trump in The Apprentice,
Which is not on this list.
but this is my favorite performance of his this year. A movie that is kind of a meta-commentary on the ethics of its own creation. It's the sort of shit that you love discussing as a film critic. And it also happens to be really funny. Stellar performances by Pearson and Reinsve as well, but Stan is really the star of the show here, and he does a great job.
It's like Wes Anderson in the Polar Circle. It's a group of teenagers who are trying to avoid getting deported from Norway. And it's funny, and it is really fucking cold out here.
It's a Norwegian movie. Spoiler alert, there's not going to be any Swedish segment this year, so this is the closest we get. I am part Norwegian, so I still think this counts as local, so whatever. Apparently this has some similar themes and like basic concepts as the director's other works. I have not seen them. I don't know where the hell you find them. There's like one of his movies available on iTunes, I guess. I am excited to find his other movies eventually, and I hope that these kids turn out well. I don't know if they're all career actors, but I really hope that things go well for them.
Your television is just about to explode!
Emilia Perez won the Golden Globe. That's depressing. That's more depressing than this movie, and this movie's really depressing.
I traveled across the country to see this movie. Yeah, no, out of anything on this list, this is the one that I feel the most bad isn't in the top 10. But you already know that this movie is great, and you already know that you should watch it if you haven't. And you already know it's gonna be a bad time, so, you know, just... yeah!
Quick, picture a Hong Kong action film. Yeah, there we go.
This is what we like to call a movie that rocks and is cool. It's not much deeper than that, I'll be honest. This was their Oscar pick this year.
What planet am I on?
Congratulations, DreamWorks, you made the best Pixar movie of the year. Before we all left Twitter this year, I saw one tweet that made me think about this list. What is the defining movie of the Biden administration? There is one correct answer to this.
If you do a film about the Holocaust, guaranteed an Oscar.
It's a perfect example of what audio and visual contribute when they are put against each other in an audiovisual medium like film. I think we need another break before we get into the top 10.
Intermission.
Number 3, Look Back. It's a very emotional short film that's on Amazon. Why is it on Amazon? I don't know, but you know what? Sometimes Amazon can have good things. Look Back is very emotional, it's very beautiful. It didn't really hit me until like the credits rolled and it's like, oh my god, you have to keep creating and keep on living even when bad things happen. And while a lot of bad things are happening right now, it's always good to just love and create, and that's all we are here for. The second movie I really liked a lot was Kinds of Kindness. Yorgos Lanthimos, second film I've seen by him. Poor Things was amazing. Best film ever. One of my favorite films ever. So I was very excited to see this. Saw this in theaters with a crowd of Swedish people. It was very funny when they reacted to all the dirty stuff. Really interesting how we did the stories and how they kind of interconnected and how weird they got. Not as good as Poor Things. It's a little like weird to be weird, but overall I always think about it. It is full of memes. And then my favorite movie of 2024 that's not really 2024 is Hundreds of Beavers, baby. Hundreds of Beavers is literally the perfect live action cartoon ever made. Don't at me. Roger Rabbit, mid. Cool World, mid. Space Jam, mid. No, I'm just kidding. But Hundreds of Beavers is like probably one of the most creative, passionate, don't give a shit about anything movies ever. It is so funny. It is wild. It doesn't care what it's doing. All it cares about is making you laugh and leaving basically a very important mark in film, because while people have like tried to emulate the silent era style before, now granted I haven't seen every film ever made, so I can't say this, but this is the first one where I felt like if you went back in time and showed this to people from the 20s or 30s, their heads would explode, but they would be tricked first, because that's how authentic it looks. Anyway, that's my list. Goodbye.
Top 3 movies of 2024. Number 3, The Boy and the Heron. Still not my favorite Ghibli movie, that's still Spirited Away, but I had a lot of fun watching it with my dad. It was his first Ghibli movie, so that was kind of special. There was a lot of this symbolism that didn't really either resonate with me or I didn't entirely comprehend, but still, it has some of the best animation that you can find current day, and some of the best animation that Ghibli has ever made. Number 2, Nosferatu. I technically watched this in 2025, but by Perpec's own rules, it still counts because it was in January, and sometimes movies take a little while to get here to Denmark from other countries. A really, really good gothic horror movie. I was instantly taken back to when I was a preteen and obsessed with vampires. Not Twilight, no disrespect to the people who were there, but Twilight doesn't really get what makes vampires seductive and hot. Nosferatu does, and it is the disgusting and horrifying aspect of it. In the movie itself, the main guy, don't remember his name, I'm really bad at names, he is depicted as a rotting living corpse. And it is this aspect of disgust mixed with his charisma and danger that makes him so attractive, and why the whole movie just works. Didn't really care much for the ending, but I know that this movie was meant to be a direct adaptation of the first Nosferatu, and that's how that one ends, so you do what you will. Although, big fail here, the guy who is the XP of Jonathan Harker didn't get his nightmare from eating too much paprika, and then instantly the next morning asked for the recipe, so minus for that. Number 1, there is no contest. Hundreds of Beavers. One of the best movies I have ever seen, period. It's one of those movies that makes you just feel so passionate about movies in general. I love it. I can't even describe how much I love it, because this is a movie that's best to go in blind. So please, go watch it right now. Know nothing else about it, just it's good, it's funny, it's creative, it's one of the best movies out there. Go watch it.
That's a really tricky one, because I saw a lot of really good movies in 2024. Like, I'm looking at my letterbox right now, and almost all of them are 4 stars or higher. I gotta give props to, I saw the TV Glow, just because it filled me with dread. It made me feel really sad after I finished it, just because I was like, yeah, I get it. So one of my top movies of the year, I didn't even think it was one of the best ones. I just feel like I don't see very many people talk about it because it's only in a few spaces, is the 4:30 movie by Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith isn't for everybody. I acknowledge that. But this movie that came out in 2024, it's generally one of his more chill films, and I think it's really easily accessible for anybody who's not really into what he makes. He was actually shooting to make it PG-13, but it ended up being R anyways because he slipped in too many jokes about willy whacking. And 200 of Beavers, it counts in my heart. It can come out any year. It's forever. It's gonna last hundreds of years and hundreds of beavers. I don't gotta tell you hundreds of beavers is peak. You know it is. I'm looking in your eyes. I can see it. My favorite in terms of quality is Hundreds of Beavers. My favorite in terms of personal bias is 430.
My favorite movies from 2024 were If and The Best Christmas Pageant Ever.
I think I need to be hunted down and experimented on for sport.
I'm recording,
Sorry.
Snake.
Sorry. Number 3, Beetlejuice. The original Beetlejuice, classic, super fun movie, and the sequel Juice. Also fun and good movie. It's not as good of a movie, but it's not a bad movie. We get a lot more underworld lore that's fun. I love characters that are little freaks, so Beetlejuice, you know, as a character, right up my alley. I think it's fun as just a movie that's supposed to be fun. Baby in that therapy scene, I want to kick its ass. I want to punt it into the sun. Sadly, I do not have legs. Second place movie, Venom 3, A New Dance. That was the subtitle, right? Venom 3, he hit the Yoinky Spelunky. The Venom movies as a whole are guilty pleasures. I absolutely love them. It's what Marvel movies used to feel like when I was younger. Whoa, this is so cool! The second one was good, the first one was good, and the third one was good. I don't think there was a bad one of the trilogy, but I like to watch movies that are fun and make me feel happy. Of course, I love a good depressing movie with horror and blood, guts, and emo shit, but at the end of the day, if you give me some Venom schlock, I'm gonna eat it up, and I'm not gonna apologize for eating that schlock. It's fucking Venom, they're gay, and they're gonna go get him. Venom, gonna go get him, ain't gonna know what hit him. Yeah. Venom. No.
And what can you do, my effeminate fellow? I can venom. Ha! No! Gonna get him.
Number 1 movie 2024. You're never gonna fucking guess it. That's right, it's Don't Starve Together, theatrical release, Hundreds of Beavers. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. It is a movie I could make with my friends, with a black and white filter, 2 lima beans, and a hope. It is the perfect film. It just reminds me that, like, hey, in this shit-ass fuck world, we can have our silly ha-has. We don't need fancy props. We need guys in fursuits, mascot suits, and a sense of attitude. It's one of the greatest video game movies. It really felt like I've played this movie before. The way that funny white boy goes around eating the carrot, then he teeth, but it was made of wood, so his teeth.
When he at the...
It made me think that I could actually make a movie. It's such a shitpost movie, but it actually makes me think that, hey, maybe I could actually make something enjoyable for people.
Hey, Jex, what's your favorite movie of 2024?
I only saw one.
What was that?
It was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay, there we go.
End of intermission.
Hi, welcome back from the break. Now we're gonna talk about the top 10 fiction films. How do you make fiction that is realer than reality? You set it in real life.
Kharkiv is the second largest city in Ukraine, and it has been under Russian attack since 2022. While Russian forces were bombing the city above ground, in the metro underground, many people were hiding and simply trying to survive. This is where Photophobia was filmed. While the story is fictional essentially, it still documents the life that you have to live hiding away from war in a way that I feel can be a little more closer to home to a Western audience.
Photophobia probably has my favorite scene of the year, which is you see It's filmed from above, and 3 kids, no older than 12, are lying on like air mattresses or like some kind of mattress replacement. And while there are bombs going on above ground, like they are being bombed actively, they are all focusing on the one kid in the middle who is looking at their mobile phone, watching a Try Not to Laugh compilation. That's just this generation, man. We are all so fucked. Let's hope the next one is a little funnier to talk about. Omar's Express, yay!
Is there cops on Mars?
Hey, remember like a decade ago when you saw on YouTube like that music video that was like an anime about those kids at a pool, and then there was like a tentacle monster? That animator makes movies now. Cyberpunk, it's animation, it's cool, and it's got robots and killers and murders and wow. If you like any of those things I mentioned, then you'll probably love this. You could maybe object to it if you don't like movies where cops are the good guys. But they're fictional cops, so it's fine, right?
Kill a fucking Englishman and throw him in the sea.
Kneecap is a pseudo-biopic about the titular rap group who play themselves in this movie. And that's kind of a fucking shock, because they are all really good actors. J.J. O'Doherty, who plays DJ Provai, because he is DJ Provai, I straight up thought he was an actor. This movie features Michael Fassbender, and the intro scene featuring him, best intro of the year. I am rooting for these guys at the Oscars if they get nominated. They didn't. Of course they didn't. What do we expect at this point? It's fine. 3, 2, 1, this is the Humanities building at the University of Gothenburg. I studied film science here for about 6 months before where I took my SATs, and the reason I'm showing it here is because it is called Humanisten, or in English, the
Arrête de sourire.
Alright, so what do we have here? We got a coming of age, vampire,
right,
romance, set in Montreal, Canada.
Oh, thank God.
Listen, I know my audience, and I'm pretty sure half of you are obsessed with What We Do in the Shadows. And while this isn't as wacky as that, I would still very much recommend it to you if you like that show or movie. Anyway, because I'm me, I read both of the main characters as autistic, and that just makes the movie better, even if one of them is trying to eat the other. And all of that makes the movie, you know, pretty relatable.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Don't worry about it.
Chemical X.
This is kind of getting me beat. Luckily, I have a cool refreshment that is tied into my second favorite album of the year. Check it out. Bottoms up! I thought that would be easier.
The main character in The Substance is my favorite character of the year. If you're wondering why I phrased it like that, then you clearly have not seen the movie. You clearly don't own an air fryer. I saw this as a double feature with Videodrome, and that's a good pairing. It's very Cronenbergian. Probably the grossest movie of the year, that I saw at least. The whole movie makes sense when you consider that everyone involved in the production is French.
And manga!
Buzzer beater alert! Also bummer alert!
Oh, this one hit home. This one really hit home. I used to draw comics. This one hit home in ways I don't want to really talk about on the internet, so I'm not going to.
If we learned something from this movie, that is, of course, don't go to art school. Trust me, I went to art school.
I actually used to do judo after school.
I always hated it.
But that means I've been up close to people who take judo seriously, and they take judo really seriously. Which is probably why this movie works. Adding political intrigue to something as competitive as judo is a very smart choice. Turning the sports story into basically a thriller is chef's kiss. Wonderful.
When I saw this at the Gothenburg Film Festival, one of the directors, Lorelei Marivaine, she was there and she talked to us after the screening. She is really nice, and I uploaded my review immediately after, which said that this is my new favorite sports movie. Very shortly after that, I'm notified on Letterboxd that the other director, Guy Native, who also directed Skin 2018 and Skin 2018, had liked my review. So I immediately edited it to say that Sarah Mir did a really good job directing it all by herself. Fuck you, Native, you Zionist piece of shit. The monkey! We're in an museum here in Gothenburg, and they got monkeys here in this like miniature rainforest. The explicit reason we're here is because I wanted to film some monkeys for this segment. But if you look here, the monkeys go to bed around 16 every day. It's like 5:30. So we just got here too late to film the monkeys. God fucking damn it. At least our fish. It's cool fish. And a toucan up there. So like it wasn't a waste, but like, man, I wanted to see some monkeys.
Was there any movie this year more based than Monkey Man? Like, I haven't seen any of the John Wick movies, but does he in any of them lead an army of trans women to kill the Indian equivalent of a mega church pastor?
No, I'm serious, does he? I haven't seen him.
This is a great directorial debut by Dev Patel, and I really hope he gets to make more movies soon.
Oh, strong women!
What the fuck are they putting in the water in Albuquerque? We got High School Musical, Breaking Bad, and this? What the fuck are you doing over there?
Kristen Stewart's great. I'm glad we've stopped making Twilight jokes at this point.
Then what the fuck was the number 7 section?
Anyway, if you felt like the substance was cool, but you wanted a little less gross and a lot more buff lesbians, then yeah, this is it. It isn't not insane, but it's a lot closer to what I could call like a good time. Like if you're along for the ride, it's a really fun ride.
Viewer, I have been entirely truthful with you. Technically, logistically speaking, Love Lies Bleeding is actually my number 1 movie of 2024. We gotta have a quick little word about release dates.
When is a movie done? When shooting wraps? When the producers manage to wrestle it away from the director? When it has its first festival screenings? When it has a wide cinema release? A VOD release? Fuck, even then it might not be finished. TMDB, and by extension Letterboxd, which is what I use, it's a film under the year when it was first premiered in any capacity. This leads to some problems with how to categorize movies. If a movie has a sneak preview in December, but most people don't get to see it until January, can you call it a Christmas movie? And is it a better Christmas movie than Rhapsody Street Kids?
Shut that door!
I didn't fucking think so. This isn't as simple a question as you might think. Shopping a project around to distributors, even if you manage to make a deal, that deal can take months or years. That's not even taking international rights into account. Before you know it, your summer blockbuster has become fuck you, it's January. That's why I reserve the right to define what year a movie should count in for this list. Sure, a movie might have been seen earlier somewhere else, but I wasn't allowed to see it, so why should I care? If I had the chance to watch it legally, yeah, that's on me, but if I didn't, I get to count it for the year when I could. Usually this kind of slippage doesn't affect more than 1 year, because if you're shopping around a project, you kind of give up after a year. That's usually when festivals stop accepting stuff, and therefore the market kind of dries up around there. But sometimes, very rarely, a project holds out a little longer, or they just release it themselves.
So, while Love Lies Bleeding is the movie that can be most credibly connected to 2024, I'm putting it second on my list, to paraphrase Robert Christgau, because a 2022 movie made by some nobodies in Wisconsin made me happier. My number 1 movie is Hundreds of Beavers. Listen, I don't go out of my way to rewatch movies. I know some people will like rewatch comfort movies over and over again. That's not really me. I want to see as many movies as I can, so I try to see as much new shit as possible. I saw Hundreds of Beavers 5 times this year. You can watch it for free on tens of services by now, and I paid money to see it in cinema. I bought the Blu-ray. I paid money for a movie I can watch for free. Legally, if you don't like Hundreds of Beavers, you're wrong. My friend group tends to disagree wildly about some movies. Everyone gave it 5 stars. Usually, the number 1 movie of the year for me is pretty specific to just me. Spider-Verse? Many people over 40 can't watch that movie. Everything Everywhere All at Once? Definitely not for everyone. But Hundreds of Beavers? It's the most universal movie I've ever seen. Is it perfectly polished? No. But it's made with love, with passion. David Zaslav watched this, it would destroy whatever he has instead of a heart. A spreadsheet, presumably.
I'd like to apologize for that one. I don't think it's fair for me to compare the spreadsheet, which is a very useful tool, to a very useless tool like David Zaslav. So I just like to apologize for that one.
There we go. That is my top 35 movies of the year. Those are some thoughts for you to gnaw on. Like a beat.
Best performance in otherwise mediocre movie. Hunter Schafer in Kaku. Biggest fall off between second act and third act. Trap. Most bees. The Beekeeper. Most fake movie feeling real movie. Fly Me to the Moon. Silliest death metal growl. Bill Skarsgård in Nosferatu. Best astronaut feeding a spider Nutella. Spaceman.